Right. So we're live right now. How do I even start this, Ross? We actually, okay, I do want to give Lisa Chandler a shout out because of a call that Lisa Chandler put out. That's how we met you, Ross.
Yeah.
And so when we were like, okay, like we are working on starting the Uplift DAO, presuming that we can, affect its purchase from my old partners. And so, like, who do we talk to, right? And so, Lisa reminded us about you guys. Like, oh yeah, so we hired you guys to create, the Wyoming DAO LLC for us, which you guys did. So, like, technically, you guys created the DAO, which is, I mean, I think for me anyway, like I tend to want to look at things through sort of a making history kind of lens. I'm just sort of weird that way. But that to me is always going to be a big deal. What I'd like to kind of touch on a little bit, I know we can probably touch on zero details, but I wanted to make sure that I have you guys on the show so that I can thank you in public for helping us actually make it happen, because it was not a foregone conclusion that we would be able to purchase. Hey, Lisa's there. Lisa, I was totally just shouting you out. She's in the comments on YouTube. Yeah, like it wasn't a foregone conclusion that we were going to be able to make this work. And there were a lot of moments in the negotiations where it looked like it might not work. And so not only did you guys come in and help us set up the Wyoming DAO LLC, but when we needed a law firm, you guys basically said, hey, listen, like, and you guys have expertise in this or whatever. And as far as I'm concerned, you guys were instrumental at a few different points in giving us a chance to actually succeed at this at all.
Well, it was a lot of fun for us as well. I mean, it's obviously an area that's still very new, and I think that a lot of people sometimes get caught up in the newness and don't realize that there's some basic fundamentals in all these sort of things. And I think that was the approach that we took.
Yeah, and I mean it worked. So thanks. So I mean, like, there's a lot of different places that we can take this. I mean, the I guess people should know that Ross and the Intelink law group, they're gonna have their hands on some DAO tokens. As far as I'm concerned, that makes you guys a strategic partner, and I'm really excited about that. And you guys are gonna have some land in Etheria as part of our 100 projects in the new push to Ethereum. And I'm excited to have you guys kind of a long-term part of the family moving forward. So that's going to be fun. I think we're going to go visit your land. I actually have some, I snagged your logo. I want to put up a banner for you guys, a little QR code or whatever, just down the street from IBM, which is like, I don't know. I think it's going to be a cool little corner of the universe. But before we go too much farther, there's a tradition that we have of, there we go, of putting gratitudes up. You've seen this, right, Ross?
Not sure that I have, actually.
Oh man, so this is Gratitude Tower. This is where Jimmy and I come and work every day. It's an example of what billboards can look like. Of course, you can point your phone at that and it'll take you over to Nefty Blocks. This one over here, sun's coming up. This one over here is where the team, every time we have a dev meeting, we put all our gratitudes up. We actually started this underground. This goes down like 7 floors. Every month we put on a new floor. We're about halfway up this tower now. And this is just a tiny corner of Genesis, which is just, one of the 8 maps that we're currently running. So anyway, while we're here, get your gratitude up on the board. Had the guys from DeFi Lunch podcast up here a couple seconds ago, which was fun. Oh, we want to do wood. This is how hard it is to build. Even a guy with a beard that's mostly white knows how to do it. I should probably tell you about the. I got to give you an update on the Unreal 5 stuff that's happening too. Anyway, Ross, in this moment, what are you grateful for? Big, small, doesn't matter. Just has to fit on a tiny sign.
For the life that I've had and the life that I'm going to have. Do I have to type this in?
I got it.
All right.
Good one. Beautiful. For me, I'm grateful for Ross and the Intelink team on the board. All right. So what are your impressions as somebody coming from like the legal background and like sort of having seen everything that we've gone through? What's your take on what we're actually trying to do? Like how are you sort of seeing it from your vantage point so far?
Well, I think it's a whole new world in obviously.
Right. Can confirm.
But it's like it's kind of a consummation of how the internet began, where the brick and mortar world became virtual, and this is sort of taking it another step into creating more concreteness, if you will, within the virtual world.
Mhm.
Right, the idea of real estate in the virtual world is it's been around for a while, but this is kind of like a sort of the end, to a large extent, the end game of at least that part of it.
Yeah, it seems that's sort of how it seems to me too, right? Like that, and we've been talking to a lot of people about, we're obviously starting on Minecraft. That's not where we're ending, right? Like Minecraft is just living up to our ideal as a startup to always live off the land. We take off the shelf parts whenever possible, and build them into the vision, which is Ready Player One. Ultimately, like that's our end goal. Like, and we want to, do all the things we can do to get to that point where we're creating human network effect inside of this digital sort of space that feels like a place that you can actually walk around of, and that is persistent, over time, right? And so, and I'll show you some pictures in a minute, but we actually have now tested taking that tower build that we were just in. We can take that out as an object file and put it into Unreal 5, which is what most of the new games are getting built on now, right? Like the imminent game engine of the future, basically, is where that is. So we've ported that so that we have one of the Uplift builds in Unreal 5, and we have like a bunch of different, some of the PFP projects, the personal profile picture projects that are doing 3D models now. Like I bought one just to test this out, and so we've got a 3D model of one of these NFTs. That's sort of like newfangled tech that people can use, and that's actually in a Minecraft build, but it's not in Minecraft, right? So we've already figured out how we will bootstrap from Minecraft, where anyone 9-year-olds can build very easily, which is a really important thing to me. Like no matter what, people need to be able to get into one of these metaverses and build and create and do stuff, right? And so like at the base level, Minecraft works perfectly for that. But we can also, port meaningfully into what's coming next, which I just get super freaking stoked about. Just because if you'd asked me 2 months ago, like that was like my 5-year plan, and now I think we're gonna have a working MVP of an experience by the end of the year.
It's awesome.
Yeah, very good. All right, so that's actually a door. Pause this here for a second. So we're gonna have all of the logos for our partner projects in Ethereum in that room pretty soon. So this is Etheria right now. This is where Block Cities is going to live. They're actually another metaverse. We're going to be doing some collaborations with them. And we got NFT the movie over here. Started building some stuff out. Cool. I gotta get the. I just picked the thing out. This is meta art, and the lady that introduced to us, Chan, remind me, Ross. I actually want to introduce you to her. She's like a hyper connector. She hooked us up with IBM as well. This is where they live. All right, now I gotta get your. I wrote down your land piece. I just gotta get the 192,832. Of course, by the time I wrote down one number, I'm forgetting 832. Crap. Right, Ross? It's like super exciting. All right. Okay. There we go. So this is you.
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh man, that's a nice little view right there. All right, I got to make sure I'm facing the right way. When you come out here, you're going to be able to you're going to be able to know where your plot is because you'll be able to build on it, and you won't be able to build anywhere else. There we go. So southeast. So it's going to be. So I'm basically marking it out so that I don't build on anyone else's land by accident. I have God mode powers right now. All right, and yeah, I want to do this because I actually grabbed some stuff so we can actually. Oh, did you know that you guys have horses and sheep?
I did not know that.
One of the things, like even in the creative worlds, you kind of like wandering around and hanging out and having fun, and then suddenly a cow just kind of walks by, and I don't know why that always ends up making me laugh, but it totally does. Right. I load it up.
Can we have some input into what animals go by?
Not really.
Okay.
It's I mean you especially in the survival worlds, you can get animals, like you can capture them, and so a lot of people will do that. Oh, got that. It's got that right. Backing on this thing. You can kind of see how like you can't see the image from the other way. It's kind of fascinating. But I made this thing up for you. We can obviously make like a new banner anytime you guys want to put like a one that like is up to your awesome standards on there. But this QR code link works. You can hit that. Gets over to Intelink and
cool.
All fancy and stuff. Just gonna finish off the backing for this, and then yeah, I think that the game plan is we have somebody that's doing like basically introduction experiences, right? So like come in and answers questions, and we'll make sure that you guys know how to get on this land and play around with it. Can hook you up with builders if you want something kind of more like a gallery built out, or want to talk about ideas about how to use it and stuff.
Right.
So that's going to be fun. Let me get this so it actually looks cool, and then people will know you guys are here, which is kind of fun. So, anything going on in the crypto legal world that we should know about?
Well, I think everyone knows how badly it's been hit this year.
Yeah.
But I think it's I think it's starting to track the markets generally. I mean, because the markets, not just the crypto markets, but everywhere has been just crushed. It's
right.
So so I think that's sort of going towards more legitimacy for the whole industry, if you will. So I think it's continuing to sort of legitimize, if you will. It's always good news when something new and different like this starts to get that kind of traction.
Yeah. I have always hoped that there would be an inverse correlation between the sort of real world markets and crypto, but I think you're right. I think it makes sense that as institutions start to get in and get exposure to these assets or this asset class, it sort of stands to reason that if the entire market dumps, you're just going to see a commensurate effect on that, right?
I mean, financial advisors now are basically saying this is one of the asset classes you should have along with real estate and bonds and traditional equities. I mean, this is again, it's just becoming like the internet itself didn't want to do. It's become mainstream, right?
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I just love that there's horses in this shot. I'm just taking some screenshots. I'll send them over to you. It's for fun. That's for fun. Yeah. So one of the other things that happened in the last little bit, and you can see the IBM's just over on that hill over there. And I think actually the DeFi lunch guys they're gonna have some land right up in here, so you're gonna be at a really cool little cluster. I think there's gonna be a lot of cool people around.
Looks
Anyways,
like
yeah, so that'll be good. Yeah, Lisa, how do I add Lisa's coffee shop there? If you had anything on Ethereum, yeah, DM me. Because yeah, we want Ethereum focused projects only. But for all I know, you have some exposure to the Ethereum crowd. So if that's the case, just fire me a DM and we'll come up with an excuse to make it happen. And yeah, one way or another, we'll figure something out as a thank you for hooking us up with Ross and his team. But yeah, so that, I was telling you, we're sort of getting the object files for these builds, right? Just like that to me is like a sort of a secret weapon that people aren't really gonna understand for a while. But that to me was one of the sort of the missing links to figuring out how to get from where we are now and booting, into these sort of higher order technologies. And there's this thing called spatial where you can basically like create a gallery and kind of walk your little avatar through it, but there's no friction to it, right? Like you can do it through a browser or through your phone or what have you. And somebody managed to get the object file of their build in the Uplift and load it in so that it's the actual environment that you're wandering around in this spatial app. Just like that to me, like being able to, because we're going to foster that, we're going to help people figure out how to do that themselves. So it really is where, like, Minecraft is where you build it, and the rest of the tools that are out there for creating meaningful sort of 3D experiences are going to just be at our fingertips. We're going to be making that available for everybody. Lisa has that question. So there's legal rulings around NFTs, and I think Gillibrand and Loomis, I want to say, just we were talking about it on DeFi lunch a little bit. They apparently dropped a bill that they were, and it hasn't passed. Probably wouldn't pass till next year, if anything. But they're sort of like trying to get to higher order regulatory clarity around stuff. Have you seen any of that yet?
Not specifically, but that's an ongoing thing. It's with,
right.
And the SEC has been trying to figure this out for a while. I mean, a few years ago when the initial coin offerings were really hot, that was a huge deal, and in the U.S. in particular, and there was a whole bunch of people going offshore to do their offerings, so they wouldn't have to deal with the U.S. regulatory environment.
Yeah.
But it's still very much up in the air. I don't think they ever actually ruled specifically on what was going to be securities and what was not.
Right. And the CFTC is ruling like, no, it's a commodity. Yeah, but is it though? Like, and then so this is like conversations that we've had around this stuff. Is like, I'm always looking at, what's actually getting enforced, right? And even the SEC has been, I think, terrible at that, right? I mean, they're trying to go after EOS and ultimately letting them off the hook with a slap on the wrist, and now going after Ripple. And like, if you can't get Ripple as being a security when like that token has never done anything, they sold the crap out of it as an investment vehicle specifically for their business, right? Like, it's a security by any rational measure, and they still can't nail them down for it because and honestly, like, it's not because they're sort of old versions of these things, the Howey test or whatever, like that's all kind of known precedent. But then they have to answer why you didn't do that for the Ethereum Foundation, and their whole argument breaks apart.
Yeah. Well, I think that, for NFTs, I think that's going to be, depending on what it is, right? I mean, I think it's going to wind up being treated a lot like the brick and mortar world.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's NFT real estate, it's going to be treated that way. If it's NFT artwork, it's going to be treated that way. If it's NFT music, it's going to be treated as music. I think the real question is for the tokens. As long as the major emphasis is use of some kind,
mm-hmm.
then that's going to keep it farther from being considered a straight up security.
Yeah. Yeah, like our in-game token, like you can't withdraw it unless it's as an NFT. It's like very specifically, and we're super clear about our communications around this. Like, it's supposed to be used, right? Like it's literally the in-game economy token, and that's the only reason why it exists, right? So I think that one is buttoned up really nicely. I think even for future potential regulation, and obviously like the DAO token is going to be the real question, I think, right? Because I mean we're looking at it from the perspective of this is a shared bank account, blah 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 blah, right? And we're going to be doing some revenue sharing on that. And I think it'll be interesting if we have to turn around like in a year and a half and register it as a security. But so what? We'll just do it.
Right. I mean, again, it's all the one thing that people forget is the policy behind securities laws, right? And the whole idea is so that people who are spending their hard-earned money on these things understand what they're getting into.
Yeah.
Right? It means that there's enough information for them to make an informed decision on whether or not to buy it, and that's the concern that something that's unregulated gets put out there without that kind of information. And really that's the background for everything. So if something is put out there with enough information to understand what it is you're buying and what the risks are, that's the bottom. That's what they're looking for.
Right. When that's looking at the enforcement side of things, like when they actually button the rules down, which again, like they sort of haven't, which is why all this stuff is in the new potential legislations. But when they do, like, even now, like they are enforcing some of these things, but they're enforcing stuff that is like clearly a scam.
Right. Well, that's stuff that's right. And that's what they should be doing. Right. And again, but there are also, again, like in the securities world, whether it's a public offering or private offering, there still are rules that exist. And if you want to get outside the need to register, you have to behave a certain way if you're just selling interest in a regular company, so that you fall within the exceptions. And most of those exceptions relate to the idea that the people who are investing are sophisticated enough to understand what they're getting into. Yeah. And you provided them with enough information to make an informed decision. Right. And so if people keep that in mind, those basic things, like if you're going to take advantage of somebody that's unsophisticated, doesn't understand what they're doing, you're going to get in trouble. Yeah. If you are dealing with people that are sophisticated enough to understand what they're doing, you provide them enough information, you're in a better place.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be an interesting spot for us too, because as far as we have a small liquidity pool set up or whatever, we've never sold as an organization. We've never sold to a non-accredited investor, right? It's just in a liquidity pool. We've only ever given it away. That's some scale, right? Like right. So that's sort of been interesting, and I think there's a possibility of a few people that have will be coming in as sort of strategic partners that we might be considering as sort of quote unquote investors, whatever, right? But we're going to be doing KYC on them, and that like that our books are going to be open anyway, right? So as far as like anybody who wants to know any information, like all of our information is going to be on chain. So I think we're going to be positioning ourselves as well as can be right now, considering the technology is all really new and we're sort of trying all this new stuff.
Right. No, that's the right approach. Being transparency is going to be, a really positive thing.
Cool. All right. Apparently, Lisa's coffee shop is launching on ETH, and so, Lisa, we'll definitely get you in. Fire me a DM. We'll map it all out and figure it out. It'll be awesome to have you there. And we'll put you down the street from Ross and Intelink. Keep it in the family. Yep, that'll be fun. All right, so do you guys have anything else going on these days that's interesting?
Well, as a firm, I think that we're an international firm, which is kind of fun in the sense that we do things that are not just in the U.S. Yeah. Right. And so in the brick and mortar world, there's quite a lot of transactions still going on despite the downturn. There's still quite a lot of merger and acquisition activity, which is kind of what you guys. Well, it's exactly what you guys did. Yep. And it's happening on a lot of different levels, a lot of different scales. Forming companies in different countries for certain clients, and just generally doing stuff that's a lot more interesting than suing people.
That's always fun, right? It's sort of conflict resolution kind of, or whatever, like figuring that kind of negotiation stuff that you guys have always been really helpful around that stuff for us. But it's more building, right? It's just like these things are just sort of changing and figuring out and creating new ways forward or whatever. So like you're going to be part of this community of 100 different Ethereum projects. What would you like them to know about what you guys are capable of doing, other than the fact that like I rant about you guys all the time and will continue to do that? And just like if people need a lawyer in this space, it's like
Yeah. So I think we're a very, we try to be a cutting edge firm in the sense that, we were virtual before virtual was a thing, right? But we also have brick and mortar. So we have actual offices, but that was not, again, anything that was set up because of what was coming. Was a natural progression of how service providers, and lawyers are service providers like any other service provider, begin to behave. And so the result is we're very efficient in terms of the way that we operate. Our overheads are low, and it allows us to craft interesting relationships with our clients. And so, so that's I think the message is we're open to interesting ways of crafting the attorney-client relationship. But at the same time, people have to understand we still need to sort of live in the real world.
Oh yeah, no, and that's like figuring out that dynamic is clear. And I think like I love the way that you phrase that. So I want to add that to two different things. One, I mean, I can speak from experience. You guys have absolutely done that with us. I feel like I'm new at all this stuff, right? Like I don't like mergers and acquisitions. You saw like I was a student the entire time. Just like
Right.
trying my best. And having you guys there to help was fantastic. Chris Tuttle, on our team, who has gone through this kind of thing before, told me many times that the value that you guys created for us in her experience was far more than what you asked for in return. And so everybody, you should just know that up front. As far as like not only the ability to understand the technology as it's coming up, you guys totally crushed that sideways. And being open to work with startups in creative ways, which for us was monumental. And frankly, like understanding how to do this kind of thing to the point where we could actually make it work at all, right? Like that. Again, I've said this 100 times this week, but actually having the Uplift in the position that it was at right now over the last 3 months was definitely not a foregone conclusion. There was a bunch of times this like tried to go up in flames. And it was working with you guys at least on a couple occasions that managed to pull things out of the fire. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Chris, as well, for being a supporter. I mean, so these deals have a life of their own, right? Mm-hmm. And so you lived it, and it's very common. Doesn't matter how big or small the deal is; it always has some sort of a life of its own. So it's just a little bit more about the firm, though. I mean, I think one of the interesting areas that we personally, or I personally, and I think the firm is interested in, we do quite a lot of intellectual property work, on the patent and trademark and copyright side. It's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out legally in the crypto worlds, and then of course the M&A and that's doing international deals and having that kind of a firm it keeps it really fresh and interesting for those who've been doing it for a while. So. And I've been doing it for a while.
It's not your first radio.
Right.
Awesome. All right. Sorry. Somebody's pinging me with emergencies. Yeah. I love doing these shows. This is my third one today.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, so like I think we just crossed 45 projects out of the 100. That we wanted to get on before doing our Ethereum auctions. And that's, people that, we're getting logos, we're putting banners up for them. We're doing, this kind of thing multiple times for them. And then I think we're going to start doing like Twitter spaces and I would like to start doing some panel shows. Cause like one of the things that I want to do with this community or this cohort is to really, blend them. Like I want everyone to, meet each other in a context that makes sense. Right. So getting you on a panel with like a bunch of other projects just to talk about stuff. Just to do some fun network, I think is going to be fun over the next few weeks here too. So it's a lot of work. If I didn't have Jen, I thought I was just going to do all this myself. It's like, it's fine. I'll get 100 projects. It'll be fine. No, I would be much more gray than I am now. So we have Jen, and we're actually bringing in 2 or 3 more people just because we got a very aggressive timeline to get to our Ethereum sale, so we could boot up some runway. So, but it's booting up a lot of energy, which is also kind of nice. It's getting some of the attention that freaking IBM starts like, hey, no, let's get him in on their accelerator. Like, what? I'm still a little freaking out about that.
So what does that look like, the IBM Accelerator? If you can, to the extent you can talk about it.
Yeah, so they've been running this for a few years, and they have cloud services kind of like AWS, and for Amazon, it's where our servers are now, right?
Right.
And so from what I've been told, and I'm actually meeting them officially for the first time tomorrow. It's our one of our biz dev partners, Chan with Newcoin, another accelerator we got accepted to. Introduced us to them and basically said, just said, hey, you guys are going to accept these guys. It's just that kind of badass. Has a good relationship with them. So anyway, I think we get a 6-figure number in dollars in credit on their servers, both for hosting, which is I think a little over a year for hosting for us, even if our expenses are high. But we also potentially get artificial intelligence credits, which I am super fascinated with figuring out how to use, and like the all the kind of technical support and sort of mentorship that comes with being part of that culture. And their main thing is they just want to work with projects that are actually trying to use technology to do good in the world, right? So they found out about the little gratitude thing, but one of the things that just cropped up, it's like 5 days ago now, that same friend of ours, Chan, asked if we would want to help UNESCO with world peace, and I was like, yes. Like, how do we do that? Like, I don't know how we could be useful, but she's in touch with this artist that works with UNESCO that's putting up these Tree of Peace statues, kind of monuments all over the world. And asked if it would be okay to put one up in the Uplift. I'm like, yes, like 1,000 times yes. I mean, obviously we're gonna do that. That big dome, we're creating the big dome, and we're gonna have all the little domes around it for our sort of connecting the tribes initiative, because we're gonna be on 5 different blockchains by the end of this year, I think. And there's that big space in the middle, and I think that's probably where we're gonna house this. We're gonna do a build competition so people can translate the statue that this lady created into Minecraft at scale, right? So that's got like a good resolution, and I think we're going to put the one that wins right in the center of that big dome, so that our dedication to helping connect people and increase just the amount that people are talking to each other instead of shooting at each other will actually be in the central dome, where a bunch of blockchains that are usually pretty tribal and insular are going to have the opportunity to actually cross paths and just to have that there. I think it's going to be a huge honor for us. And so I heard about that, and they're like, yeah, well, fuck it, let's just let them in. I'm paraphrasing. Pretty sure they didn't say it quite like that.
No, that sounds exciting. Sounds very exciting.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. All right, man. So yeah, I think especially having this conversation, we need to get you on with Jen. And she'll hook you guys up. We're gonna book some time so that we can handle all the stuff that we have to handle. We should just do that, on a call, so we can get a lot of stuff squared away this week. And then, yeah, I think I want to get some of those panel calls set up now that I'm thinking about it, because part of getting you guys into Etheria, because we can get you, there's a lot of places where we could put you. And places that would be, places of honor, which frankly you guys deserve. But I really want you in these, in this Ethereum cohort, just because the networking is going to be baller, I think. And so I think we're going to do some things to move that forward. Should be really cool. And ultimately, I mean, having these projects come in is really fun, and getting them some land is really fun. But seeing how much value we can pile on for them is something I am currently obsessed with. So we'll do that.
Oh, sounds great. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. All right. Is there anything you want to leave us with before we break?
Yeah, just thank you guys for giving us the opportunity to work with you and getting this thing done. It was a fascinating experience for us, and a shout out to Elizabeth Merrill, who was my partner who worked on this deal, who's not with us. I want to make sure she gets a little bit of credit as well.
Yeah,
in helping to make this happen. Especially to finish it all up, because I actually had a trip overseas, and that that was a little bit of a hiccup at the end because it went longer than we thought it would. But these things usually do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it was great meeting you guys, and awesome. We're looking forward to a really fun, long relationship.
Yeah, I think it's going to be awesome. And yeah, Elizabeth, shout out to Elizabeth. She really did bring it home. when we needed her most. So it's a huge thank you for that. All right, guys. Well, we'll I think hopefully if you guys are all right with it, we're gonna bring you back a bunch over the next little while. So so you guys just get used to seeing Ross around.
Yeah, it'd be great. And Elizabeth, she's very interesting.
Yeah, let's do it for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely. All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Ciao.
All right, thanks.